Princess Anne finally kicks out Camilla after catching her stealing royal treasure. The air inside Westminster Abbey felt thicker than usual, like something unspoken had just cracked the centuries-old silence. No royal declaration, no outburst, just a single stare. Laura Lopes, Camilla's daughter, wasn't supposed to be the one people noticed at a ceremony like this, but there she was, eyes locked on Princess Anne, burning with something too complex to name. Rage, maybe, or humiliation, maybe both. It was the kind of moment cameras don't usually catch, but one did. And just like that, Laura, who most people hadn't even known by name, was everywhere. It started as a whisper. Camilla's daughter confronts the monarchy. But the headlines quickly exploded. Was this just a moment of emotion or the spark of a full-blown royal rebellion? Inside the palace, no one addressed it. Not in public, not even in private. But the tension was real. For Camilla, that look from her daughter wasn't just about defending her, it was a wound reopened, a reminder that even as queen, she still wasn't fully accepted, and neither was Laura. That moment at the Abbey wasn't an accident. It was the fallout from a quiet war that's been bubbling for years between tradition and bloodline, and a woman who clawed her way to the throne only to find the gates still closed when it came to her daughter. Camilla had played the long game. From mistress to wife, from wife to queen. But now, with that crown on her head, she wanted more. Not for herself, but for Laura. And not everyone was okay with that. Princess Anne wasn't. She never was. To her, the monarchy had rules. You were born into it, or you weren't. Simple. And Camilla, in Anne's eyes, broke more than one of those rules long ago. She wasn't going to pretend otherwise just because the public had warmed up to her. That's why she refused to curtsy, not out of rudeness, out of principle. A quiet, calculated act that said, I may share your stage, but I don't accept your script. Camilla saw it all. The refusal, the public nature of it, the implication that neither she nor her daughter would ever be real royals in Anne's eyes, and that cut deeper than she cared to admit. Because it wasn't about etiquette, it was about power. That curtsy wasn't a gesture, it was a symbol, recognition. And Anne denied it in front of the world. That same night, behind Clarence House walls, Camilla cracked. For years, she had kept her emotions tucked neatly under silk gloves and royal smiles. But this time, she let the anger show. She didn't just snub me, she told Charles, her voice shaking. She erased Laura. And I won't let that stand. Charles tried to be diplomatic, as always, told her Anne meant no harm. But even he knew this wasn't just a personal feud anymore. It was a quiet battle for what the monarchy would look like going forward. Camilla wanted a future that included her daughter, a monarchy where Laura stood beside Zara and Eugenie. But Anne, and maybe others, wanted to make sure the bloodline stayed pure, untangled, untouched. Laura didn't ask for any of this, but the moment she locked eyes with Anne, something inside her shifted. For the first time, she didn't look away. She didn't shrink. And now the whole world had seen it. Not just a stare, but a statement. One that said, I'm here, whether you like it or not. And in that single silent moment, the royal family felt something it hadn't in a long time. Unpredictability. The kind that could shake a throne. Zara Phillips didn't need to raise her voice. One cool glance was enough to send a message. At the Somerset House charity event, Laura had tried again, this time with a soft compliment about Zara's work. It wasn't scripted, it wasn't forced, it was just Laura reaching out, hoping for something civil. Instead, she got a smile so thin it could have been cut from glass, and a quick turn back to a nearby diplomat. No warmth, no welcome, just a chill that sliced deeper than any headline ever had. Laura stood still, glass in hand, surrounded by conversations that didn't include her. She'd worn the gown her mother picked, she practiced the etiquette, the posture, the perfect smile, but none of it mattered. In every room that had royal stitched into the curtains, she was still treated like furniture. Present, but not part of the set. The worst part, everyone noticed. Not because Laura made a scene, but because her silence screamed. Camilla noticed too. From the corner of the room, she watched Zara's calculated snub like a hawk watches a threat. To Camilla, this wasn't just a social misstep, it was war. Every cold shoulder, every half-hearted nod, every photo where Laura was mysteriously cropped out, it added fuel to a fire she was no longer willing to keep quiet. Camilla's daughter had endured enough. The monarchy might pretend bloodlines are sacred, but she knew better. Image mattered. Headlines mattered. Public sympathy mattered. And Camilla was going to use all of it. The Royal Gala in Montreal wasn't just an event, it was her strategy. A 3-day showcase where royals mingled with dignitaries, cameras flashed like stars, and speeches echoed across continents. Camilla made sure Laura would be there, right at the center. The Heiress Award, was meant to honor those who furthered Queen Elizabeth's legacy, and in Camilla's vision, it would go to Laura. A public stamp of approval, a turning point of rewrite of royal history with her daughter on the page. She worked everything: media, outfits, seating arrangements. Laura would speak, the press would cover it, and the palace would be forced to deal with it. Charles wasn't fully on board. He warned her this was a dangerous path. Tying Laura to an award linked to his mother, it could trigger backlash. But Camilla was already too deep in it. This wasn't about ambition anymore. This was about justice, about giving Laura what had been denied for too long. But while Camilla was planning the future, others were protecting the past. In a quiet meeting room back in London, William studied a thick dossier compiled by aides. It contained everything: Laura's media appearances, Camilla's PR strategy, quotes from officials, and most importantly, plans surrounding the Heiress Award. William wasn't against Laura, he didn't dislike Camilla, but the monarchy wasn't just about people, it was about preservation. And to him, this push wasn't evolution, it was intrusion. He made the call himself. Alastair Malan, head of the Royal Canadian Foundation, answered within seconds. William didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. This award carries my grandmother's name. It cannot be used for personal advancement. I trust you understand. Malan said nothing more than, "Yes, Your Highness," but it was done. Then came the envelope, slipped quietly into Princess Anne's hands. A copy of the dossier, proof, context, intent. And didn't need the details, but she read them anyway. Her face stayed unreadable, but in her eyes was something cold, resolved. She saw what was coming, and she was ready. The crown may bend to public favor, but not her, not William, not for this. The chandeliers in Montreal sparkled like constellations frozen in time. Everything had been rehearsed. Laura's speech, the lighting, even the angle photographers should shoot from. Camilla sat front and center, draped in royal purple, fingers knotted in her lap, heart thudding like a war drum beneath her gown. This was it, the night her daughter would no longer be whispered about in footnotes, but named aloud as a symbol of the monarchy's future. Backstage, Laura stood in her ivory silk dress, breathing slow, mechanical breaths. Her palms were damp, her throat dry, but her mind was clear. For once, this wasn't about surviving. It was about being seen. Her speech rested in her clutch, folded perfectly, a declaration disguised as gratitude. She wasn't just thanking anyone, she was claiming space. The host stepped up, greeted the crowd with charm, and opened the envelope that would cue Laura's moment. But then, something changed. He squinted, then hesitated. A staff member handed him a new slip of paper, quietly, discreetly, but not discreetly enough. Camilla's back stiffened. Laura saw it too. Then came the words, "Due to a decision by the Honors Council, we regret to inform you that the Royal Legacy Award will not be presented this year." Gasps rustled through the audience like a sudden breeze. Cameras flashed, but not with excitement. Confusion, suspicion, tension. Camilla's eyes were wide, stunned, unmoving. Laura didn't step forward. She didn't move at all. Her fingers slowly crumpled the speech inside her clutch until the paper was a crushed ball. Across the room, William sat in quiet composure. No applause, no smirk, just a glance exchanged with Princess Anne. A silent nod, barely noticeable, yet unmistakable in its finality. The message was loud, even without words. The monarchy would not be rewritten by ambition. Camilla rose from her seat like she was made of glass, steady but fragile. She didn't wait for the program to move on, she left. And Laura followed, the cameras capturing every step like it was a slow fall from grace. No award, no speech, no recognition, just two women exiting into a night that suddenly felt colder than the Canadian air. The press devoured it. Photos of Laura standing alone backstage, Camilla's clenched jaw, William's impassive stare, headlines the next morning painted it brutally clear. Monarchy rejects Queen's daughter. No crown for Camilla's line. The same dream that had once brought Camilla to the throne now felt like a ceiling she couldn't break through. That night, in their suite, Laura didn't cry. She sat in front of a mirror, the gown still on, makeup untouched, face pale from exhaustion. Camilla, now in a robe, silver hair loose, watched from the corner. Words wouldn't come. What could she say that didn't sound like an excuse? An apology? A lie? Laura's voice broke the silence. I never wanted to be a princess. It wasn't bitter, it wasn't angry, just hollow. A truth laid bare after years of pretending. Camilla looked at her daughter, not as a queen, not as a strategist, but as a mother who had dragged them both through fire, chasing something that never truly existed. She had survived the palace's judgment, but she couldn't protect Laura from it. Not really. At Buckingham Palace, Anne poured tea into a porcelain cup, her hands steady. William sat across from her, still thoughtful. We did what was necessary, he said. Not for ourselves, for the crown. Anne nodded. Blood remembers. No smile, just resolve. In a passing TV segment, a clip played. Camilla and Laura entering a car outside the Gallo. No music, no commentary, just silence. But in that silence, the truth rang louder than ever. Titles may be given, but belonging in the House of Windsor must be born.